welcome back, y'all. This is episode 26. I'm your host, Lily Lavender, with Jay Bird over here, and we are going to talk about the right fit.
So we're going to go get into a little deeper about what is the right fit for the average person getting into this industry. We've kind of discussed it at length. We feel like everybody in life should do two things. We should and this is just a personal opinion that's actually shared between the both of us. That people should, after high school, enlist in the military and work in service. There's a lot of different there's a lot of different avenues and a lot of different lessons you can learn in both things. I myself have not served, but all of my family have, so I come from a military family.
Yeah.
But I understand the benefits from it, like the self-discipline, the structure, and understanding like priorities and a lifestyle that you're forced to live in. Those are the things that like military tends to offer. Now, service industry is completely different. We worked in service you've done it for over 20 years. I've done it over 10, like in different avenues. And the things that it offers is you understand what clientele is all about. You meet a variety of people everywhere, short, tall, fat, thin, and hyper aggressive and super sweet. So I think acknowledging the fact that like you're having all these avenues and understanding what the real world's actually about is a good place to start.
It is. So one of the things that I like about a corporate setting is the fact of the structure behind it. So they don't constantly change rules. They have one set of rules and you either follow it or you don't and you're gone. But they're all about pushing product and customer service and having those abilities to do any of that. And it can enhance someone's character, or it'll show you that you're not fit for that environment.
What's funny is I used to work with a cook who is actually one of our head cooks at the time, and granted, it's a 5-star restaurant, quote unquote, 5-star restaurant. And I used to talk to him all the time. We actually went to school together decades ago, and I was talking to him. I was like, man, he's like, because I've obviously went a lot of different routes. Like I worked in the fire department. I've been a bouncer, worked in construction, like so on and so forth. My resume is a laundry list of like holy cows and like what were you thinking? But I was talking to him one day and I was like, dude, because once we left high school, I was like, dude, I'm super proud of you, man. I was like, you're killing it. And he looked down and he was like, I appreciate the compliment and I know it is a compliment. He said, but I'm a glorified burger flipper. And I was like, really? You feel that way? He's like, dude, because lead cook in this industry is like, you know how to cook steaks.
Yeah.
And be on point with steaks, like, and he's required to know how to cook everything in the restaurant, for sure. But every day in and day out, and he got burnt. Like, eventually he ended up, he didn't trade professions, but he went to different locations so he could experiment more. And that's okay too. That's actually great. Because you keep expounding on your craft, or expanding your craft and getting better and learning.
Yeah.
But he was like, yeah, man, he was like, all I do every day in, day out, is the only thing that changes is the pace and how much we push out.
That's true.
That's a mindset I feel like you'll get in a corporation setting.
Yeah.
It's all about the numbers. Crunch them in, crunch them out.
So it didn't used to always be about the numbers in a corporate setting. It used to be quality. But things have changed here in the past 5 years, where now it's volume and quality, but you can't have both.
Quote unquote quality.
Yes.
So you'll see all these restaurants with all these certifications, corporate restaurants with all these certifications, Eco Labs, health inspections, Stereotech, if you know what Stereotech is, if you ever had to, bear through all that crap, which is pretty much health inspection on steroids. You have to go through all these qualifications to be realized as a well-known corporate restaurant.
Yeah.
And at that point but when you have all these certifications, you can say whatever you want about the product that you're sending out. You can say it's the best, and you can say it's the best this side, this side of the East Coast, or you can say it's the best food in the United States because you're winning all these awards for your sanitation and performance and display. But you're taking. I've got a big hate. I don't hate corporations. I hate what they've become. It's all from my experience. It's all about the volume and pushing product out. You kind of take away the love from what you're sending.
Yes.
That's why I love dive bars and hole in the wall restaurants.
Yes, I do too.
So.
But what I wish that dive bars and hole in the wall restaurants had were structure.
So, what we've discussed at length is obviously working for a corporation, they have a laundry list of rules. You'll have hazard.
And it's consistent.
Yeah, you'll have SMAX and all this stuff you got, and it's rule book savvy stuff, which is not a problem, not at all. But dive bars and hole in the wall restaurants, it's all up to the owner or management, to that matter,
yes,
to decide what rules apply and what rules don't,
and what rule they have set for that day, depending on their mood. So that is one thing that I do not like, because it lacks consistency, which is what we're going through right now. Because it'll be one thing one day, and then it's different the next day, or it depends on who the manager is that's working that day. Yeah. So now you have to conform to what their rules are, and go off of that.
It's a big roller coaster ride when you do that. The inconsistency will make your job a lot more flustered and a lot more irritable. I always tell people that I'm walking on eggshells. I don't know who's gonna get pissed off at me today and who's gonna get pissed off at me tomorrow. And that's a horrible feeling. Knowing it, and there's nothing worse than enjoying a place that you absolutely love working for, and then it just flip into something damn, I'm getting in trouble left and right by everybody for random things that just doesn't make sense to me.
Exactly.
Which I'll chop that up to low volume. Like I said, we're just getting out of the cold season, so we're digging into the hot season right now. So volume's starting to kick up. Different rules are starting to apply. You're getting more and more people coming in and out of there. So there's going to be a point in time where you have to stick harder on a lot of rules and start getting lenient on some of the older ones.
Yes.
And realizing that difference, this is just an adjustment period. And a lot of people kind of struggle with adjustment periods for sure. I've got actually a few people that it's not bad at all, don't get me wrong, but it is a struggle getting through this adjustment period. We're all irritable, we're all tired, and all of a sudden the workload is a lot heavier because the volume is so much higher.
Yeah. So one of the changes that we've gone through recently is we now have to take inventory per shift for the bar. And the new girl had mentioned that is something that a manager is supposed to do. And granted, she's right. In a corporate setting, it's usually a manager that's doing the inventory check, regardless of what shift it's on. But in a hole in the wall or a dive bar, it's everybody. You guys are all responsible for all the liquor you have behind that bar. It is your responsibility to make sure you're not overpouring or whatnot. So if management asks you to take an inventory of what's behind your bar, you do it.
Yeah. Well, and I get both sides of the spectrum there.
Yeah, I do too.
Nobody wants to work. Nobody wants to do somebody else's job.
I get that.
And a good teamwork setting, that's never going to come into question. That's where the issue is. But in my scenario, so I get that mindset because I'm dealing with something almost similar. It's not near as often though. So we have two different entrances to our restaurant. One from inside a bigger corporation, and then one that leads straight to our patio section. Well, we have a quote unquote minor issue, like people coming in underage to the bar. But so now we're supposed to address people and send them to the host stand if they come in through the patio. I'm not a bouncer anymore. I'm not security anymore. So me carting people at the door and carting them at my bar and making my drinks and doing all this stuff.
It's an added workload.
It is an added workload, and I feel like it's an unnecessary one.
Yeah, they should have somebody on the patio that's responsible for the patio.
Yeah, Well, and it's already chaotic the way the restaurant's laid out anyway, and that's just something that's completely out of everybody's control. I understand that completely, but at the same time, like, this is why we have security there. We have added security there. That is their job. That is what they're supposed to do. And we've discussed in earlier episodes what our workload's like as a bartender anyway. Bartenders wear many, many hats. You're a therapist, you're a manager, you're a supervisor, you're a workhorse, you're a laborer, like, you do everything. And you're a mixologist. Like, you gotta know what you're selling.
Yeah, you do.
Actually, I'm kind of jealous, because what is it called? A wine connoisseur. Like, somebody that, like, studies wine.
I can't even say the word.
Yeah. So I'm actually really jealous of this dude. He's really, really nice. He's really good at what he does. And he's the only one in our restaurant that's certified to tell you to do that. And that, in our restaurant, that's a huge selling point. So, like, knowing your product, and he's amazing at knowing wine. It's incredible. And I could listen to him talk about it, because there's always a story behind everything. And wines go on forever.
Yes, they do. There's always a new one every year, too.
Yeah, so I'm jealous to the point that, like, he's able to, like, know all this stuff because of his background, which shows where I'm lacking as a bartender on my front.
See, and I grew up in the wineries, so it was always something that we knew how to do because it was there and around us.
Yeah, but you're also from the West Coast, where that's in plenty. Yeah. Here, how many wineries? I can think of 3 off the top of my head.
True.
And they're all in separate counties.
Yeah.
You see what? Yeah. So, like, problems with a small town is, like, you get to see these things in a small town, and then, but, like, having a full experience on it where people are competing against each other, you don't get that either.
No, you don't.
But there are pros to both sides. So we were discussing it earlier, that what may fit for you personally isn't necessarily going to be a corporation or a dive bar. We were discussing that if we'll give some random examples, like, a corporation is good for benefits.
Yes.
I get benefits working at a corporation where I'm working bartending. Good ones too. Like, I get good benefits. It does cost, just like everything else does.
Yeah.
But if I push the envelope and I really take advantage of all this, I get medical, and I would get, like, retirement, which is usually 10 years ago unheard of for a bartender.
That's true.
In service industry, that nobody back in the day took a bartending gig as career. It was always going to be a stepping stone.
Yeah.
And now it's almost a salt to position or profession if you're great at it. So finding a place that gives you benefits, medical, and all this other stuff
it's a huge bonus.
It's a big deal. Especially so if you're educated or you're getting an education in certain things, this might be the job for you. Examples is marketing, knowing people, knowing your niche, knowing what different kinds of demographic you're going to run into on a regular basis. This industry will help you.
Yeah, and being in business,
business management, restaurant management, any of this stuff. Hospitality, or not necessarily corporations, but yeah, corporations. Restaurants and stuff like this is going to help you, because you're getting different avenue, and it gets your foot in the door in different locations. You get to meet vendors. All of these things will help you long term if you're seeking out a career path somewhat in service industry. You can make a lot of really good relationships.
Yeah, you can. It's always networking based.
Yeah. Well, and I've met people that, like, I've met people that I've worked for or worked with that had a marketing background, and they've met clientele that needed people in the marketing department, and hired them on the spot just because they're so good with people, and they could pitch their craft.
Yeah.
You know, so keep that in mind. But what I recommend is, if you're in the medical industry, or biology, or something that does not entail you to be in service and you just need a job, hole in the walls and dive bars is probably your thing.
The best bet.
Yeah. You're not looking for the benefits, you're looking for the money, you're looking for the quick, let's go, let's get it kind of stuff. Dive bars is probably where you want to be, because it's quick cash, consistent quick cash, and You're not worried about benefits and all this other stuff, so it's probably more prominent for you to be there. And there's perks on both sides. I have to dress up in a button up and slacks every day. I miss going into a dive bar wearing my jeans and my hat and my jerseys and playing around. Like I enjoy that about my old jobs.
Yeah, I definitely get that because I mean we have an employee shirt, and you know the bottom half has to be respectable or whatnot. So no skirts, no dresses, things of that nature. Shorts can't be too short.
Not Hooters.
No, definitely not Hooter style.
Yeah. So being more respectable in a lot of positions, and the conversations change too.
Yes, they do.
So where I work in fine dining, I obviously we call it a spiel. It's a laundry list of things that you do to get your point across with most respect and tedious. This very, very tedious way of presenting what you're trying to sell. Yeah, and every so often, which it's not completely dull. Like every so often, I'll get somebody that'll play around with me or whatever, and I'm always give and take. If you give me a little, then I'll give you a little bit more of what I do. You know what I'm saying? So when I find out that you'll play around with me, I'll let it go. Like you'll see all the sides of me where I play around and dig off and then have fun conversations and stuff. But at front, it's going to be completely professional until you give me some leeway. Dive bars, I don't give a shit.
No, they really don't. You can have all different types of conversations with people that come into a dive bar. Like last night, I met an environmental consultant. And he's actually been my regular for quite some time, but he'll come in like once a month or twice a month sometimes, depending on what his work is like here. But he came in last night, and I was like, so I know somebody that wants to get into environmental studies, and so I called him over because it's my son's friend, and they started talking about education, where he's planning to go to school, if he is in school already, and where would be a great place to work when you're starting off, how to get your resume out there. So it was really good and informative, but I get different types of people like that.
Yeah. Well, and at the same time, most people that go into dive bars don't expect 5-star service.
No,
or like even hole in the walls. They're looking for an experience, just not the preppy one. They're looking for an experience where it's all about the food, or it's all about the drinks, and it's all about learning a culture. If I'm going to a small town or a random town to try a new restaurant or something, and I love hole in the wall restaurants. I don't like corporations because they're the same everywhere. And that's the whole idea behind them.
Definitely.
When I travel and I go into different places, I want their experience that they can show me from their place. So, and usually I'll strike up conversations like, what do you do around here?
Oh, yeah.
Or like, what do you do for fun? Or like, what, you know what I'm saying? Because I get those questions when I'm at work.
I get those questions too.
Yeah. And, and it was funny is, somebody asked me, granted we're on a reservation, somebody asked me, it was a couple out of Atlanta. And a woman asked me, she was like, what do you do around here? And I started laughing. I was like, it's wintertime. All I do is drink. She's like, oh, yeah? I was like, yeah. I was like, we do nothing but dance around here and drink. And I was like, that's our thing. And I was just playing around, of course. I mean, there's plenty to do around here if you search hard enough. But like from a cultural standpoint, we do powwows, we have festivals and all this other stuff. So, like, that's what we do.
Yeah.
We enjoy, that's how we enjoy our time, especially in the cold settings. But when I go to other restaurants outside of here, I want to know what these people are like, because that's part of the experience. So I'm not really concerned about the service that I'm getting. I mean, yeah, I care about good service, but like I care more about learning more about the area and what better place to do it than not in a corporation,
Yeah, like one of the conversations we had last night, you wouldn't typically find in a corporate or fine dining restaurant. It was about how majority of the bartenders we know out there have a DUI.
Yeah, that is a common thing.
That's what we were talking about, because one of them is fighting, I guess she's having it dropped and she's got to drive out there. But I was like, well, I don't have a DUI and I've been bartending forever. I've never had a DUI. And they told me, well, that's because you look like you wouldn't do anything wrong. And I was like, well, that's because I'm at work and I'm supposed to appear this way.
Yeah. Not only that, like, you are notorious for being the most, like, you are the best at Irish goodbyes. Like, when you've had enough, you're like, all right, it's time to go. Like, you don't say a word and you just bail. Yeah. Like, nobody, and I'm all about an Irish goodbye. You nail it, though.
Well, we were talking about that the other day, how whenever we all go out, I'm always the first one to leave.
Yeah.
I leave the earliest, too.
Unless you know that, like, you're right around the corner from your home, or you have a ride on, like, you definitely know your limits. Which, it's dangerous for me, like, because if I have an ED, it gets bad.
Yeah.
Like, it gets so bad. Like, I really don't care, and I usually tend to forget what happens next. Mm-hmm. That's definitely a constant struggle that I have.
But these are all some things to think about when you're a bartender or even a server or whatnot, and you're trying to pick a place or trying to decide on where to go for your next location.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think us being in our professions and what we do, it helps us, like, decide. That's a huge deciding factor on where we go when we venture out to places.
Yes.
You and I go out to places all the time, especially when we're doing interviews and stuff. That, like, a lot of people would say the dirtier the better, or the grimier the better. That's never really been our case. In our case is the more cultural, the more you can learn. Mm-hmm. So, like, we did an interview at Jack of the Wood not too long ago, and they had a huge amount of history that went with their bar, and they have a huge bourbon and whiskey selection. I love that place. One of my favorite places to go. And but, like, they were the founders of Green Man.
Yeah.
That
like, who would have thought?
Yeah, that was crazy to me. And, like, you go in and you see the logos everywhere. You see Green Man logos, and it looks like it's all labeled Jack of the Wood. But it all looks so similar. And, like, they don't own Green Man anymore, but that was their startup.
Yeah.
And they're a really, really nice location.
They are.
And people will consider it a dive bar, and it's not. Like, it's got a very eloquent setting.
Well, like the last location that we worked at together, their master brewer was the master brewer for Green Man.
Oh, yeah.
He is amazing. Boy, does he have some stories, too. I would love to interview him.
Yeah, we'll have to holler at him at some point. And that's one of those bars that, like, I really, really enjoyed working with because it was dive. Anyway, you slice it,
it was definitely dive.
I enjoyed it because I could play around, I could have a good time. I like working with you.
Yeah.
We could, I could aggravate you throughout a shift, and that made my day worth having. I could wear jeans. And I could play around and goof all day long.
Yeah. That was a perfect setting for all of that. It was really great. It was a lot of fun when it was fun.
Yeah.
But it also went downhill really fast.
Well, times change, and everything else has to change with it.
Yeah.
So, and just like everybody else here, if you're in this industry, some word to the wise: don't forget to evolve.
Yeah.
You know, it's time to learn. Like, if it's time to learn new cocktails, like I said, there's over 3,300 and climbing. New cocktails are being made every day. Try to stay up on the new trends if you can. Don't forget to study. That's the best advice I can give you on this front. And you know, the service industry is a good place to work and make a huge career path, but know your fit. Know what belongs to you. If you care more about, you know, comfort and excitement and being able to dick off and stuff and still make money, dive bar's where it's at. But if you're worried about benefits, maybe your career path and some clear-cut goals with this profession, corporation's probably where you belong.
And I mean, it doesn't hurt to ask questions. So, like, when you're interviewing at a new location, have a list of questions to see if you would be a right fit for that place.
There's nothing wrong with being a wrong fit.
No.
Like, don't take a job just because you need. I mean, and obviously you need a job. Like, people need to survive or whatever. But if you're in a position where you can kind of test the waters and, like, see where you enjoy it, just take some time, meet the staff. They're going to put on their best face for you. So, like, always do the times 10 effect. So,
or become a regular.
Yeah. Yeah, you could always become. That's a long time to, like, do a job interview, though.
Yeah, that is.
But what I do is the times 10 effect, which is, you know, you go in, you enjoy dinner or whatever, and have a good time. This works in a restaurant setting or like a dive bar or a corporation setting. So what you do is you go in, you don't apply for the job yet. You get a feel for the environment. You listen to the kitchen. If you can get a good earful from the kitchen, you can see how stressful it is back there. Listen to the bar and how they talk to each other, if they're playing around or if they're goofing off, or it's a very, very structured setting. You can feel tension, so you can kind of decide what it's worth it to you.
Yeah.
And then talk to your bartender and server or whoever serving you that day or accommodating you that day, and break into a real conversation with them and see where you end up, because those will be the people you work with. But the times 10 effect means that when you meet these people, they're giving you their best times 10 face. They're giving you the best face they possibly can, which means behind closed doors, they're 10 times not that well. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? They're not that good. But guys, that's going to probably be all for us today. Love you guys. Until next episode.